Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm your host, Bob DeMarco. Coming up, more knives from Civivi, more Elementum from Civivi. They just keep coming with that Elementum. And then we take a look at some awesome Ron steel knives in the state of the collection that are on loan from our good friend Tier 1. And then we talk about peak knife. You've heard of peak oil. Have we reached peak knife, or is there such a thing? I know peak oil was, I don't know, a very controversial topic, and the theory was disproved, at least I think. So is peak knife a thing? Could it be a thing? I mean, today when I saw this new Elementum, Michael, good to see you, sir. Michael Morgan. Dave, how you doing? We have Dave. Good evening, blade lovers, he says. Thumbs up, knife, and okay. Chris, how's it going? Chris is working on, Blade Ogre is working on a cool looking knife. I just saw on Instagram, looking pretty cool. Ezekiel and Jonathan, how's it going? Gentlemen out on the West Coast, good to have you here. Shredder. Chad, how's it going? Hello, Michael, Dave, Jim. Great to have you here, Chad. So I want to talk about that. I saw this Elementum. I'm like, well, everything's obviously been invented at this point. Hey, Nick, good to have Nick EDC here in the house. Another Elementum. Well, I guess they haven't made a copper and steel frame lock, sub 2-inch Elementum. Why not? It's kind of like the Lucas Burnley Quaken over there at Boker. Just keep pumping them out in every possible iteration. I mean, it is a great knife, right? So anyway, I want to talk some of that kind of stuff. I want to find out what you think. I also want to find out what you were carrying. Walt, how's it going? We have Walt Gilbert here. I don't think we've hit peak knife, but I think there may be a Carter era malaise in designs. Interesting. The as could be. Hey Bryce, how's it going? We have Blade Freak here. As could be illustrated by the Elementum in its many, 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 many forms. I guess you go with what makes you money. Ketmuk Nessard, good to have you here, sir. I like those pictures of the Shining Mountain Bowie. It was very cool, or Bowie. I'll say Bowie tonight. Ben, how's it going, sir? Ben's recently posted. I feel like I just blew out my mics with that, or my earphones. But Ben just has been putting up his Jack Wolf knives the last couple of days. I've been salivating over those. Good to have you here, sir. I've been wearing your hat a lot around Northern Virginia. Caleb Townsend, great to have you popping in to say hi. Can't stay up this week. Work starts early tomorrow. Okay. Well, you know what? Work is important. Work takes precedence, I guess. But Caleb, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure. So as I was about to say before, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Actually, that wasn't what I was going to say. I was going to say I want to hear what you were carrying today. But first, let me tell you what I was carrying today. And this is something interesting. This hasn't happened to me for a while, and I wasn't expecting it with this knife. But I've been almost exclusively carrying one knife for about a week. I know, crazy. To me, that seems like weeks, right? I mean, when you rotate every day, if you carry the same knife for all week, it seems weird. So I've been carrying my Sebenza 21. You may have heard of this knife here. It's making a splash. It's a great knife. Really, I used to always have great respect for this and enjoy handling it and such, but I would always kind of pass it over when I'm standing at the knife chest and I'm grabbing something for the day, and I'd go for something more exciting. I do even remember on the podcast saying that it doesn't make my heart race. Well, things have changed. I guess it happened when Jared Neve put an edge on it. That helped, because I could never quite get it that sharp. I don't know why. Maybe that was my own sharpening abilities, but he put a razor on there, razor blade. He also saved the tip, which I blunted in some sort of drop, I guess. And so he got the blade where it needed to be. I've always loved the handle, and I don't know, just recently it's come together. And then Blade Freak presented me with an amazing offer on something that I've wanted for a long time, which is a Tanto Umnumzan, and I have that coming. And there have been a couple of days where I've had to force myself to carry a second knife. How weird is that? Like, no. What are you talking? Like, you can't just because things have been rushed and crazy in the morning. We're here in search of peak knife, and we'll be every Thursday for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So anyway, been grabbing this, throwing it in the pocket, and loving it. And Ian, good to have you here. James Culp, always a pleasure, sir. Great to see you. So I was carrying this Sebenza 21, and I had a couple of other things today. Professor EDC, man, it doesn't even seem like a week since last I said your name and saw your name on screen. Anyway, it's good to have you here, sir, and it's great to be back. I love Thursday night knives. It's just a chance, I don't know, to just hang out instead of have to be on my best behavior, I guess. Okay, so here we go. Second in my pocket was the Avant by Luft Concepts. This is Jake from Bearded Gear. This is his knife with Ryan Rimmer, a designer that he met whilst doing the channel, and they put together their perfect design, the two of them going back and forth, and had it prototyped by Riat, and here it is, man, and it is awesome. It is a really, I've talked about it the last 2 weeks, maybe, but last night I was talking to him. He's going to be on the podcast, and he strongly encouraged me to carry it. I admitted to him it had not left my office. I had used it to cut some craft paper. That's a common chore right here on this mat. I should probably get a pristine mat for this purpose. But he was like, no. I mean, I sent it to you to use, so take it out and use it. So I'm going to take it out and use it, have it for another week, make a video, and then unfortunately send it back to him. This is yet but a prototype. So nice knife, really nice knife. Interesting, great conversation with Jake last night about the whole genesis of this and what the process was like. So look for that this Sunday. That's this Sunday, episode 254. And join us. It's awesome. He's such a great guy. Okay, and let's see. Next, I had how can I forget? I didn't need to look at my notes. Walt, how's it going, sir? Very nice. It is. Love that blade shape. All right. Love this too. Check this out. It is so incredibly thin. I'm sure I repeat myself. That's a family trait. I think I went off about this last week, but it's like a straight razor, thin. And then if you listen to it, it's just, so thin, so sharp. So great knife to listen to as well. There's a ting. It's just very gratifying, like the sound of a movie sword being removed from its sheath. Metal on metal. Shing! All right, so here is the JB Knives ditch pick. I'm going to be speaking with, I think, Brian from JB Knives next week, and I really look forward to it. I really admire their designs. They're all EDC fixed blades. EDC meaning you carry them every day, but they're not so much EDC knives as you can tell by looking at this one. Most of them, they do have one, I think, called the Companion. That is a drop point, small drop point. That is way utilitarian, but most of them are of this ilk, of this sort of nasty ilk, with the Pical. A lot of them are Pical. With the tip down, edge in configuration. And I opted to have both edges sharp because why not? Of course, if I didn't, I would have regretted it. But you also have the option to get it ground halfway, which is really cool. But I decided, why not just go all the way, man. Let me sleep on it. You know what that is, right? Okay. Putting that down there. This is what I carried today. What do you think? The main star of the show was the Sebenza. It has been for a week, and I expect this love affair, this dalliance to continue for a little while until I run back into the arms of the XM18 that I was doing this with before the Sebenza. So there you go. What were you carrying today? Let me know. That was long-winded, I realize, but we're here to talk about knives. So what were you carrying? I am curious. I know someone was carrying a Rex 45 Shaman. I will bet. K Mason, how's it going, fellow Icomaniacs? No. Eichmo maniacs. Eichmo maniacs. Is that a word? K Mason, is that a word I need to know? Is an Eichmo maniac like the real word for a knife junkie? I am curious. Let me know. Stoolie J, how's it going? Have we reached peak knife? No. Why? Because everyone keeps doing damn belt satin finishes on their blades. Now that was I think he meant that with more gusto than I read, but seriously, why aren't there more stonewash finishes? I agree. I love a good satin. I think Riat does an awesome belt satin right here is a good example. I love it, but it makes me nervous. I definitely do prefer a stonewash. Even a polished stonewash is good, especially a polished stonewash is good. No more belt satins, please, says Stoolie J. Man, I think he's up to here. I think he's up to here because of all those caps. I hear you. I mean, if that's your only option, that's a problem, I think you should have options, at least polished or not polished, basically. So that's a belt satin or a stonewash. I agree. I would agree with you there. But that's interesting. I have to say, I must admit, that wasn't a trend I was necessarily noticing. And maybe we'll talk about this in a little while, about attention spans and different things. Snuz, good to have you here. Hey, fellas, that ditch pick is gorgeous. Just saying, yum. I couldn't agree with you more. I really love the contours of this handle. It really nestles in there nicely. Great carry, Bob, says Michael. Thank you, Michael. I mean, do you ever feel guilty for not carrying more than a knife? Oh, yeah. Mail drop today, among others, is the Concept Kitari, designed by Morgan Cones. Oh, man. I love his fixed blades. I tried to get him on the podcast over a year ago, and he was like, no, man, I don't do that kind of thing. I'm a pretty private guy. And I'm like, I love his knives. If you're not following Cones Craft on Instagram, it's Koens Craft with a K, I think. Man, you have to. His stuff is amazing. He just does these small batches of I think I'm going to make some cool fixed blades. And he'll make like 4 or 5 incredible. I mean, he looks to be a bit of a master with the grinding and such. Anyway, check him out. Dave, that is exciting news. I love the look of that knife. I love the look of his last folder. Can't remember who made it, Best Tech maybe. And then his very first one was cool too. So this is his third, I think. Blade Ogre says, just naming 2 in the pocket this week after 6 or 7 last week. Just got the Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive 1095 micarta case. Oh, I saw that in that picture. Trapper today and carrying my Ogre Spike Bowie today. Yeah, I saw it in the picture with the Ogre Spike Bowie. Very cool. Just so you know, Chris, and everyone, I am doing a midweek supplemental. Not sure if it's this week or next week, but all about my trappers. I noticed I have a preponderance of them, and I love them, and I want to show them to you. I want to introduce them to the world, like their debut. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think maybe I need to buy one more before I record it, so it's an even 10. Northcote, how's it going? Ditch pick is nice and murdery looking. I know it is. It's like, it's not exactly. It's kind of like what it reminds me of. What you're saying reminds me of what Michael Janich said on the podcast when we were talking. He mentioned, I asked him, or maybe this was in the extras, I'm not sure, on Patreon, but I asked him what he thought of Libra fighting and Pakal style fighting, which is, obviously incredibly effective at stabbing people and fighting with a knife. And he's like, it's sound, it's solid, technique and very good, but it kind of looks like a murder scene, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It is a pretty, like, if you're going before a judge, maybe that's something you need to think about, but I don't know. A lot of people vary, and a lot of people who train that don't, that's not their main concern, going before a judge. So I think it's cool. I would like to, at some point, learn a little bit more about it. Michael Morgan says, Civivi Praxis and a $155. I love the $155, and the Civivi Praxis is also a nice one. That's one of their earliest, I think, right? My wife is still rocking the mini grip in pink and loving it. I love colored knives. I like pink knives. I really do. I like them better than most women like them, I got to say. Clark Nelson, Shiro, good to have you here, Clark. Shiro F3NS. Very nice. I have to say I've never had a Shirogorov, never had or never held or experienced them in real life. And you know what? Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe I need to make a list so that the next time I go to Blade Show, I can seek those things out, whether they're there or whether someone is selling them, because there are a lot of retailers that are selling stuff. Moon Pirate, good to have you here. Hi, all, he says. Good to have you. Stoolie J, sorry for the rant. No. Oh, my God. Yeah, if you only knew my family, Stoolie, you wouldn't be apologizing for a rant here. But anyway, yeah, I would like to check out a Shirogorov. That sounds like a classy carry there, sir. Walt, I would like more polished finishes on stainless. I would like, why? Just curious. I mean, why do you mention on stainless? Is that because on high carbon it? Well, let me know. It's an addiction, 1983. Hello, my friends. Hello, it's an addiction. It is indeed, if this is what we're talking about. Chad, I carried the Concept Shikari. That's a cool one. And the Max Ace Babylon. Max Ace, man, back with a vengeance. It's like they were, I don't know. They came on my radar in maybe 2015 or something like that. And then I didn't see anything about them. And now, boom, they have these couple of really awesome knives out. I know Joe Knife Whisperer has been showing a couple of them off recently. Max Ace Babylon. Cool, man. Ian G says, hey, Bob, I just scored a naked TRM Atom with DLC coated blade. Nice to dress with the scales I won on the birthday bash in the mail. Oh, my God. That is awesome. It is in the mail. I cannot wait. Ian, I'm very, very happy for you. And I'm happy that you won those awesome. They were green canvas micarta. I think it was like that hunter's green that has just a little bit more blue than yellow in it. Love that color. Reminds me of like a, I don't know, classy old British car. It's like a British racing green, I guess. Here's mine with the DLC. Love that sucker. James Culp, I am carrying my Browning 111C pocket knife with Cocobolo. I love Cocobolo. Wood handle scales and Sandvik 12C27 stainless steel blade. Awesome. What is the Browning 111? I'm going to take a quick look. Not to be antisocial, but I'm getting on my device for just a quick moment here. Buck 111. We're going to see what this looks like. Ooh, nice. Right on, man. Oh, that's nice. Okay, I love that whole family. James, I have I highly recommend, if you love the Bucks, check out the 112 too. I think maybe you were talking about so these little ones are awesome too. And you can get those little quick things on, and not only can you open it one-handed, but it's a great place for you to push your thumb against. So nice carry, sir. Ketmuk says Finch 1929, a great choice, sir. Buck 55 and BK9. It's great for cutting pizza. BK9, is that the one that's kind of squared off? Great for cutting pizza. I could have pizza right now. I could actually tuck into a couple of slices right now. Snuz said 3 weeks in hell is over. No duk. No duk. I never want to see a duk again. The only duk I've ever experienced had hideously dull blades. Like maybe they didn't even sharpen them. I'm not suggesting yours did, but that's my impression of the duk. Pardon me. And if I belch, please excuse me in advance. Ryan says, got me a Spyderco Magnitude and Mass Drop Lynx today. Magnitude that's a Peter Carey, I think, and the Mass Drop Lynx. So I've had the Drop Mura here. It's from the Apex Pass Around group, and I've had it. I guess I had it a little long. It's only been about 3. Well, you know when I got it because I showed it off. This thing is awesome. Drop, as David was saying, Drop really should be making more knives than like they used to, because you know, these kind of knives are awesome. This Mura is just such a sweet knife. It would also be nice at 1 inch larger. Mr. G and VT have to order the 1929. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I think it's definitely one of my favorite small knives, and I love the size of it. You know, for me, I like the 3.5 to 4 inch blades. But if I'm going below that, I like really small, you know, like the Runtley and the 1929. You're going to dig it. Professor EDC says, carrying a local designer custom Tanto folder. Nice. A small Spanish backlock and the Tim Wegner Blade Tech. Custom. Oh, man. I wish I could see that. Or maybe I can. That custom Tanto sounds awesome. But great three knife carry there, Professor. Shredder guys say off-grid Cayman folder, awesome. And Donnie B all day. I just saw he broke his foot in a nasty way. Little Big Man fixed blade today. His fixed blade designs are cool. Thanks for turning me on to him, guys. He does some cool stuff, and he's just a cool dude, you know. Paisan. Good evening, everyone. Hope all are well. Redacted. I hope you're doing well, sir. Finally bought myself a pair of 3, and I understand the hype. You know what I think would be cool to do with a pair of 3? I'll be 100% honest. Here, I'll show it off on my pair of 2, and I'll do it here under the knife cam. I think it would be cool to take the pair of 3, just because on the military, more so, I think the military blade is perfect. I love the military blade. The paramilitary blade, I feel, is just almost stubby, but not. And of course, we're talking looks because, you know. But I feel like the pair of 3 has a very high peak for the length where the opening hole is. So I always thought it would be cool with a pair of 3 to do the thing where you cut out, you know, where you grind down the blade a little bit, because it could stand to lose a little weight off the top, or it wouldn't be too bad. And then you'd be left with a wave. And okay, I can hear everyone groaning. I can hear it. I can hear it. But that's something I thought would be cool. Kind of just trim, just kind of grind down the top of the pair of 3 a little bit and wave it. I think it wouldn't look as bad as it sounds. I think with the ratio of the length of the blade to the height of the peak, I think it would look cool. Just saying. Chad, I'm really digging the Shikari by Morgan Cones. Been in the pocket since I got it yesterday. Very nice. That's a pretty big one, right? I mean, his blade lengths are usually in the 4 or plus, I think, right? Scott N eating ramen. That's funny. We had Rama at dinner, Thai food, but ramen. Listening along. Scott, bon appetit, sir. Bon appetit. It's one of my favorite things. That and a raw can of tuna. Just like total love that. I ate that for years, you know, before I got married. Blade Freak says, I've been slowly becoming a Hoback fan, and with my new Monkey Edge Quayback, it has sealed the deal. I'm a fanboy. Awesome. Well, thank you, Blade Freak, for the offer you made me to check out a Jake Hoback. I'm very excited about that. I will take good care of it. I will not carry it unless you absolutely demand it, but I will dote over it here. David, and I will not carry it over a concrete floor. I promise you that. David E says, hey, everyone, carried my Chavez Liberation 229 and the Spartan Ronin Shoto today. First of all, good evening, David E. Great to have you here, sir. Spartan Ronin Shoto. That's the new folding straight bladed Tanto Karambit, right? Designed by what's his name? He was cool. He was on the cutting show, the Blade Sports show. What was his name? Anyway, cool. Nice setup there. And it's good to know that you have something you can wave out and get tactical with. Mr. G in VT says, ordered a Hoback Sumo today. That's a cool knife. I really like that Sumo. And actually, one of the new Max Aces that Joe was showing off reminds me a little bit of the Sumo. I don't think it's derivative, and I don't think it's but something that I would put them on the same shelf. That's a nice knife. the sumo. Very cool. Joseph Strykars, great to have you here. Hi, Bob. Carried the TRM Neutrum and the RMJ Coho. Those RMJ, man. RMJ. What? I need to get me something from RMJ, and I'd like it to be a Kestrel or Snuggles, their Warhammer or something like that. But I just love the company, and I love the knives. The Coho is cool, definitely. Kay Mason said, I carried the Spidey Chef today. A good choice, sir. A good choice. That was another one of those knives, like my Sebenza, that for some reason I just couldn't get sharp myself. So I sent it to someone. In the case of that, it was Mike Emler. In the case of my Spidey Chef, and he got it nice and sharp. For some reason, it was like a mental block. You know, when you sit down, you're trying to remember a name or something, and just the thought of trying to, just when you say, I got to remember this name, then your mind plays a trick on you and you can't remember the name. Well, it's kind of like, I really got to get this knife sharp. And then you can't. Snuzz Nuzz says, carrying a Moore Maker 3.5 inch in white bone. I don't know Moore Maker, but white bone I love. So it sounds like it's a big, nice, traditional. My trusty Lion's toothpick, what a cool knife. And the tape knife, a brass Kiradashi in the back pocket. Easy cleanup. Very nice. I like this. I like this range. I like your range, Snuzz Nose. I carried my new Mordax today. Where'd you get your Mordax, Mr. G? Where'd you get your Mordax? I just noticed on Amazon that you can get a Mordax on Amazon. And it's for the Mordax price, and I'm pretty sure it's legit. Is it? Is that even possible? I'm not sure. Michael Morgan says, the like button broke down about a mile back. Needs a push. All right, everybody, start pushing that like button. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. You gotta like this. I mean, if you're here, why not? Unless you despise it, and then I'd say, just grumble to yourself and yell at the screen like you normally do. Walt says, I am entirely too lazy and inexperienced to carry a Tango recurve or compound grind. I think that's Tanto. Well, what do you mean entirely too lazy to carry a Tanto recurve? Okay. Oh, I got it. Okay. Yes, except the recurve. The recurve, I think you're referring to, it's a lot of sharpening. With the Tanto, you've got basically 4 edges to sharpen instead of 2, or 4 sides of an edge. And then, but with the recurve, if you get curved stones, recurves are no problem. Max, good to have you here. Max the Maker carried the Razzle Cliff and I just like the name. I'm going to say it again. Carried the Razzle Cliff and the PM2, used to cut overgrown summer squash and muskmelon for chickens. Also used to harvest summer squash and cut cardboard, but not last but not used at all, Craftsman multi-tool. Very nice. That's so cool. I love hearing what you guys actually do with your knives, what you guys and girls, guys and gals, guys and dolls do with your knives. Because when I get something legit coming, I mean, obviously Max has a much more close to the earth as sort of life than I do. And I love hearing all the stuff you do, in your garden, and then for your chickens and summer squash and cardboard and all that. So anyway, I just like knowing that even though I'm not out there, I know that my PM2 can do a lot, because this is actually a knife I have done a lot with. But it's cool to hear when people go out and really, really use these things hard, as they're intended to be, or at least as they're built to withstand. Nav Sergeant, great to have you here, sir. What's up? Checking in. Busy day at work. Carrying my large Tom Mayo, large TNT, and Terrain 365 mini Bally. Oh, those mini Bally's are so cool. They're so cool. And Tom Mayo. I mean, God, man. This is the envy hour. I like Tom Mayo. What can I say? And I would love to have a Tom Mayo in my collection someday. There's like a whole other evolution. I'm sure there are many, but there's another, step here. And I think it requires more acquiring of knives over the next few years, and then taking them all and selling them all for a couple of like Tom Mayo type knives. Chad says 4-inch blade, 3.95 overall on the Concept Shikari. Okay, so 4 inches, and I remember the best tech he did. The very first one was like 4.25. I like that he makes the large blades. Blade Freak says, "Oh, I demand that you carry it." Okay. You'll see how much I have loved that Hoback. Professor EDC Bob talking about Tantos. I know you like them. Have you had a look at the Civivi Keen Nader Tanto? I have not, but interesting you should bring this up, because Dave, this old sword blade reviews, Dave, has offered to send me. He's like, I haven't sent you knives to check out in a while. What would you like to see? He has the Keen Nader, and maybe I'll ask for that. Check out the Keen Nader. I think it's a funny name. I'm sorry, Jim. Can you go back to that? To Professor's love the geometry and grinds on the Keen. Okay, all right. I will check that out. I'll put that on my short list of things. Real short, Dave. It'll be real short list of things I'm going to send him that I'd love to check out. Just kidding. It will be a long list, but he can send me what he can send me. Scott N says, I went slim today with the Real Steel Metamorph VG10. Very nice. I had a Metamorph. I don't remember what steel I had it in. Was it VG10? The original. It was the very first one, the sort of blue anodized one. Moon Pirate carried the GEC 62 with Ripe Banana Bone and little and Spyderco Little Native and with brass titanium scale. Sorry, I can't read tonight. The Lil Native. Okay, I said 62. Really, what I meant is GEC, because I can't really think of what the 62 is. So I'm gonna hang on. You just gotta hang on. Sorry. GEC 62. And one just so that. Oh yes. Okay. Oh, okay. I have the 62. That's the two-bladed Congress. I love that knife. I have it in unicorn horn or whatever they call it, unicorn. And but the Ripe Banana, it's just so cool looking. K Mason, you don't hear of muskmelon much anymore, Max the Maker. Isn't muskmelon just what we call cantaloupe? Like when you go to the grocery store and you buy a cantaloupe, isn't that actually muskmelon? Curious, or am I just making that up? Ben, how's it going, sir? Good to see you.
What's up, Bob? Good to see you.
Oh man,
I was hanging out in the lobby.
What's that? Oh, you were hanging out in the
lobby.
I usually have my private chat covered. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, man, how you doing? I just saw you were at the gathering. Hey, JN, good to have you.
It was my first time doing that show, and it was really cool. It's a little more intimate. Really nice stuff. Good socialization opportunities, and yeah, super easy for me.
Nice. It's super easy, closer for you.
Right, about a 5-hour drive. So you don't have to mess with the airport and all that business. Just load up the Tahoe and have my leisure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Blade Hobby, great to have you here, sir. He had his Civivi riffle and his mini grip in 20 CV. Ben, what were you carrying, man?
I'm glad you asked. So, look at that.
Oh, Vero Engineering.
Lefty. Oh. Isn't that cool?
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, man. Like, he made a lefty knife. How could I resist, right? Like, Joe's such a cool dude. Yeah. I was super fascinated by the interview he gave on your show. I had a chance to speak with him briefly at Blade Show. I like his style. And when he did the lefty knife, I couldn't pass it up. And I come to find out, I wrote him a message. He wrote me back. And come to find out, his son's left-handed. So, I think that's some of the inspiration here to make sure he's making knives that his son can have.
Yeah, man. Hold that up for a second.
Sure. So here it is. It's just really neat. Try not to block too much of it.
Yeah.
So there's the mark side and the pile side, for lack of a better term. And it's not a small knife, right? By any means.
No. But what is the length of that? Is that 3.5?
I don't know. I just bought it. I didn't even study it. I just saw it. I had to have it.
Put it up. Put it so that we can see the clip like this. I have my.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Does yours have the little kick down at the? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the improved clip.
Yep. With this right here.
Yes. Yep. I gotta say I wouldn't mind that on mine, but on the size of this, mine's like a 3-inch. It's not an issue. It
Certainly a big knife. I mean, look, I have big hands and it's sticking out on both sides.
Yeah, nice, man.
So, but yeah, I mean, I know people talk about the clips. If I never knew there was a thing about the clips, I'd never have anything to say. It's comfortable in the hand. It slides in and out of my pocket.
Yeah,
it's awesome. And people care a lot about this stuff, but it just drops shut.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool. Trying not to cut myself. I know I will soon enough.
What I think is kind of cool, it's another knife, and there are a lot of them now, which I love, but it's another knife designed by a hardcore knife enthusiast, because on my, on this model, on the show side, nothing. This is a flipper, great flipper right there. But on the clip side, you got that little divot so you can Spidey flick it. I love that. Hey, Manny Z, good to have you here, sir.
Yeah, he's got you can front flip it. It's a little difficult, but it's there.
Right.
But it does not have the flipper. And I was hoping it did, because I got really fascinated on his whole like engineering explanation on the interview you did with him about like the thought process behind that. And I haven't had a chance to activate that flipper, and I'm sort of fascinated by it. So, eventually I'll be able to get my hands on one that has a flipper on it, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I can send this to you. You can check it out if you want.
I wouldn't say no.
Yeah, you'll love it. This knife is awesome. Actually, this knife has really made me wish that I got a big one, because this ends up in my left pocket, and this ends up to be I don't know. I like the bigger knives for my main carry, and so this hasn't gotten a lot of main carry, but it comes along with me a lot, because this is a great knife for fidgeting, if that's something you care about. Ketmuk says, "Love that hat, Ben."
Thank you, man. I get these made at a custom embroidery shop by me. If you want one, just write me a DM on Instagram. I don't charge any more money than it costs me to get them. And I do them on one-off requests if people want them. So just let me know.
Right on. Well, I will have you know that both of the cars in my family have that sticker of that wolf on our cars. Because I dig it and I think it's cool, and my wife because she loves wolves and she thinks that's such a cool wolf, so she put it on there. It's like, right on. Nice. We got two Jack Wolf knife cars, and then I got a sticker from Stasa too that I'm like, man, this thing might have to go on my car. Another great sticker. Everyone's got great stickers. This is a great community for stickers.
I agree, and you can never really have too many. I have a bench, like a workbench in my office, and it's probably 65-70% covered with stickers at this point.
Oh, nice.
And in the beginning, I had like duplicates, but I peeled off all the duplicates because there's no room for duplicates. So
yeah.
I have like a Tupperware for duplicates.
Oh my
and there's
God.
a lot of freaking stickers in that Tupperware. And then, mind you, it's a mixture of like knife and gun stickers, but I love it.
Right. And then you go to Blade Show and the Gathering, and man, that's just stickers flying at you from all angles. It's great. And then I let my daughters love them. They peruse them. And the funny thing is they've been putting them on their notebooks, but they can't have even the word knife on their notebook. So it's like my one daughter has rule number 9 on her notebook, and I'm like, does anyone know what that means? She's like, some of her friends do. But does a sticker come with a hat?
Of course. If you buy a hat, you'll get the stickers. No problem. I can do that.
So I'm in order to justify a purchase that I just made with Blade Freak, I'm thinking of moving this along, my Medford Praetorian G, and so I put up I just put up a thing on Blade forums. That's usually what I do to just sort of feel, if someone buys it, awesome, but it's also just to see how many people are looking, and if it gets if people come back with different prices, then it's a desirable thing, whatever. No one has answered me. And oftentimes that happens a lot when I put knives up. And then weeks later, I'll get like, hey, is that thing still available? And I'm like, no, I fell back in love with it, you idiot. You should have got in touch with me you would have gotten a screaming deal. But now that I have it out, I'm going through the same thing I always go through. Need the math problem sticker. Oh, yeah.
One is none.
Yeah. Jim designed a whole thing. Go on TheKnifeJunkie.com/shop. And you'll see Jim did a whole thing with the knife math, and you can get stickers there. But now that I have this on my table and I'm holding it, it's like, how can I get rid of this? It is one of the smoothest. I mean, say what you will about Greg Medford, and say what you will about his designs. They are not all not awkward, but they are smooth. They are smooth when they break in. They're so nice. Walt Gilbert says, I don't even know what to do with the wee Civivi stickers I've amassed. Yeah, that's funny. You could make some sort of a big mural with them,
They make good, like let's say you sell a knife to someone or whatever. You want to throw a couple extra goodies in the box for whoever bought that from you. So stickers are good for that.
Yep.
I'll dip into the Tupperware and pitch some different stickers in the box for folks.
Yeah. And you've got a really good, you in particular with Jack Wolf Knives have a really good sort of graphics scheme going on with that artist and all your themes and everything. You could do stickers all day long with all the different wolves and characters you have with the different knives. Another great live. Good night, y'all. Good night, Mr. G in VT.
Mr. G
Enjoy
in
it.
Vermont.
Yeah, like just about the most beautiful state out there. I love Vermont. Oh, like
I've
the sticker
never been
says.
there.
It's gorgeous.
I'd love to see Vermont. It sounds nice.
So you were saying, what were you just saying?
Oh yeah, you were talking about the stickers. To me, I love the art component of this hobby. To me, the knives are functional art. And so I think that's why there's sort of an extra appreciation for the artwork that may come along in the packaging or in the form of a sticker, because it's more creative expression, and we usually find similar things cool. So if the company or the maker, whoever, puts a little more creativity in their product, or outside their product but related to their product, I think people really like that stuff.
Yeah, definitely, because how do I say this? It also means that product isn't alone. Like, it's not just one great product, but it's a whole like body of work that you're buying in a way.
Yeah.
So you were just at the gathering, and so that's the Usual Suspects Network, which I belonged to for 1 year a long while ago, and then I just kind of let that lapse. And so that's their annual knife show, annual knife gathering. What was your impression of it? And a question I asked tonight is, have we reached peak knife? And the only reason I asked that was because of the Elementum, the Civivi Elementum. It's reminding me a lot of the Boker Quaken, the Bocus Burnley Quaken, that they have a billion iterations of, and they just keep coming out with more. And I'm not talking about different handle scales and steels and stuff. I'm talking about this one's short, this one's light, this one's long, this one's automatic, this one's out the front, this one's out the side, this one, they just have a million iterations of that. And that's what's happening with the Elementum, the Civivi Elementum. Actually, Jim, can you bring up the Civivi Elementum page that I sent you? They've just I know that when you have a moneymaker, you keep pushing it. I get it. This is their most popular knife, but I mean, they have begun to do that same Boker thing where they're just coming out with it in every possible iteration. This latest one is a steel frame lock. I mean, it is handsome. To me, it's a little too plain a design to really capture me, but they come with two of them. I mean, you can get two. One of them is bronze front, steel back, and the other is brass or something. Can't exactly remember it. It's somewhere, I think it's below the last paragraph, but in any case, it's one of those two heavy. You get two of those, copper and brass, and I like copper and brass. I like how they patina and stuff. I think they're unnecessarily heavy usually, And so I tend not to buy those knives, but this one's a light 1.43 ounces. So it's another Elementum. I mean, I don't know. I don't know I should be happy. I am happy, knives aplenty, but is it too much? And is it to the point where, I don't mean, is it too much? What I mean is it at the point where imagination is being stunted by, I don't know, by how well these things sell, or am I just making too big a deal out of it? It's a good folder. So let them riff ad nauseum.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with USN, or do you want to start with Peak Knife?
I want you to start at USN and end at Peak Knife.
All right. So I didn't know what to expect going into USN. My first impression was that it's extremely well organized, and
hey, Jake.
not their first. Oh, what's up, man? So one of the cool things about USN was meeting folks face to face, Jake included. Good to see you, man.
Did you check out his knife while you were there?
You bet I did. Yeah.
That's so cool.
How would I ever get a chance to do that had I not gone to USN, right? So, but it's their, it was like gathering 13, I think it was 12 or 13. And so they've done that routine several times. I understand it's basically been in the same place since it started, if I'm not mistaken. It's at Planet Hollywood. So they have that whole thing down. And that's nice when you're a first timer, that it's business as usual for everybody else. So everything was contained in one place, which I guess is good and bad. Like, if you don't like the Planet Hollywood, coming and going isn't all that easy between casinos in Vegas. Everything's just so huge, but there's certainly nothing wrong with it. And so logistically and all that, it was great. The room was really nice. The booths they set up different, where at Blade Show there's aisles, but at USN, they set them up. They put 4 tables together, like back to back, I guess would be a good way to describe it. Like quads, like pods of tables. So there's booths around the outside, and then in the field, there's pods of tables.
With the makers sitting in the middle of the pod, or?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah, I should have said that. Exactly. So the makers are inside facing out, and then people are walking. I guess you're kind of walking through aisles still, but it's not a traditional aisle with tables like side to side. So you could circle a pod, move on to the next one, circle a pod. And for the makers, it kind of made it a little more intimate. Instead of just getting to know the people on each side of you, now you have a chance to sort of associate with the people in your pod. And I think they'd make an effort to pair newer guys with experienced guys.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I would say that it was great. I'll do it again. I have really nothing to complain about. I didn't get to see much. I guess if I have one complaint is I didn't barely get to see anything. But for me, on the maker side of the table, I'm not a maker, but you know what I mean? Like the industry side of the table, I got to meet some really interesting people and learn a lot of good information. And, I think whether you're a customer or on the industry side, you will not get that experience unless you go to these shows. It's the kind of the additional extra information you didn't know about this thing you love, or the insight from someone who's been in the business for a long time, or that bit of knowledge they share with you, or a business connection or whatever. It's like, that stuff's priceless.
Yeah. And it also occurs to me, like, this is not an area of interest that's that common. It's not like, for me in my life, I'm definitely the most knife guy that I know, like by 1,000 miles, so to be around like-minded people and to, I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but to see, like, I'm not so strange. Like, see, there are a lot of people like me who find this, like, just unbelievably compelling for whatever reason, so much so that we'll travel across the country to come hang out in a room with other people who feel that way, and just to pick these things up and to buy them and to experience them.
Agreed. And there's like a natural inclination, I think, to want to help people who are like you. Like, oh, you're looking for this guy has it.
Hmm.
Oh, you're looking for someone to source this part for you or to anodize this thing for you. I know someone who can do that. Like, you're just like, hey guys, it's us, and like we're this kind of eclectic group of people, and we don't help out each other. Who the heck's going to help us out? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we got to have each other's back, and it's like it's not necessarily spoken that way, but you can feel it for
Yeah.
sure. And it's like the vibe. And so I would say it's the vibe at these shows to me that is like really intoxicating. And as long as all the logistical stuff is taken care of, and you're not having problems with that, you just get to enjoy that vibe.
Okay. So
And that's awesome.
if you had to describe the vibe of Blade Show, which I was at, in one word, and then describe the vibe of The Gathering, which I wasn't at, in one word, how would you do that? What would you say?
Okay, the Blade Show vibe. Okay, borderline overwhelming. The Blade Show vibe, like they're powerful, positive vibes. That Blade Show vibe was like the mother computer, like humming at you. You know what I mean? It's just a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot. And the USN vibe was a little more low key, like intense heavy metal versus maybe like some classic rock. Like
Gotcha.
this is an assault on your senses, but you love it. Maybe this is like a little more chill for like the
Right.
evening outside by the fire or something.
Yeah. Gotcha. Some yacht rock. Yeah.
Yeah, it like I mean, the crowd's more of a heavy metal crowd in each place, but it's just like a different level of intensity, I would say.
Who were you paired up with in the pod? Who else was in your pod?
We had Rainy Day Knives in the
Oh
pod.
God, I've been following that guy for years. His work is awesome, and he's gotten
Yep.
into these beautiful folders now. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That guy was super fascinating. And then we had this other guy who like had silver jewelry, like he was kind of unrelated. And then of
Okay.
course I'm drawing a blank on who the other one was.
Who the last guy was?
Yeah, I'd have to look at the paperwork. But yeah, I mean, it was really neat. I got to talk to a lot of I got to meet. I got to hang out with Jake. I got to hang out with Nick.
Yeah.
I got to hang out with Lindy Lou and Richie. That was
Oh,
really cool. I got to have dinner with Pena and Chris Miller a couple times. That was
Oh,
really
really?
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was neat, man. I got to talk to Caswell, the dude who made the
Joe Caswell.
Joe Caswell. I talked to him for a while. You just like soak it all in. I talked to Tom Crine for a while. Like guys would come by the table and strike up conversation, and it's like, you can only really hope to talk to these guys. Otherwise, like you're not going to call them during the day; they're busy.
Right.
So to see him at the show is cool.
Yeah, yeah, and there's that face-to-face connection is irreplaceable. And actually, it was nice to have met you face to face in this forum before meeting you in person. It was a natural thing, And I was like, oh my gosh, Ben's tall. Like ordinarily he's only this big. No, but right. I mean, but that personal connection is awesome. And just like, just meeting the people in real life. Rainy Day Knives. I really like his stuff. And Joe Caswell is like a full on engineer. His work is pretty complex and interesting. Of course, the Morphin Karambit, that CRKT licensed is really cool. I think Alex of the Knife Box channel has a Caswell version of that. But also, hey Walt, wow, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I was looking down at my knives here and didn't see the last couple of comments, but Walt, thank you so much for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it. And I know Jim does too. Joe Caswell, that knife he made before the Morphin Karambit. Morphin Karambit is amazing. But there's another one that's really fascinating. That's kind of a sheep's foot, like a real blunt, real steep sheep's foot blade. And it has this interesting clip lock sort of, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen them. Yeah. Y'all hit the like and or the super things. I agree, Walt. Hit the like or the super things. thank you if you do. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe right here, right below.
Yeah. Subscribe to Bob.
Yeah, and subscribe, and then go over to Instagram and go to Jack Wolf Knives. I know Ben's been tossing around the idea of starting a YouTube channel for a while. Am I right?
No, I don't think so. I'll leave YouTube up to you guys. Like there's so many awesome content creators. I'd rather cooperate with you guys, but like let you guys shine on the tubes, and I'll help, provide content for you guys. I feel like it's a good cooperative effort between the business side and the content side.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also just are very prolific on Instagram. So check him out at Jack Wolf Knives on Instagram. But so, okay. I don't want the have we reached peak knife to be interpreted as me being a Debbie Downer and being like, oh, it's too much. We need to, I meant it when I meant it when I thought it and I wrote it down. It was like, God damn, another Elementum. I'm sick of it. I don't know why. I don't know why I should care. I should be happy. I should be happy that there is enough of a market for excess to come out. So I don't know, maybe I was just being grumpy, but it did make me think, like, does every industry obviously goes through peaks and valleys, and there has been a knife industry since there have been humans using tools. So it's not going anywhere. We will always have knives, always have a use and a need for knives. But right now I feel like it has blossomed. And is it still blossoming, or has it blossomed? I guess. And I was curious what your insight is. I mean, obviously your insight has to be that it has not blossomed, or that it is in the process of doing so. And the reason I would say your feeling would have to be that is that, you're endeavoring to do the same thing. Why would you endeavor to do something that you think has already, peaked? But I think you're a good example of why it has not, because you're bringing something unique to the market. And I guess that's what it was. It was a moment of this bleak feeling like, God, another Elementum. But I should have just thought of you, Ben. There is Jack Wolf Knives out there. There is, there are so many, and I talk to them every week. There are so many great people doing interesting things and making interesting knives who have like a real philosophy on it. It's not just like, oh, this is a way I can make money. This is a thing, when Amazon Basics starts putting out knives, it's all over. Yeah, right. Exactly. Titanium folder or IKEA folder. It have like an umlaut.
You got to put it together yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I think I've answered my own question. I don't think
glad I could help.
I don't think we've reached peak knife, but sorry. What do you think, man?
Well, so I understand what you're saying about that Elementum. I think too much of a good thing is not a good thing. You know what I mean? And it's like that. Like, you overdid it, in your perception, they've overdone it. And it's like, leaves bad taste in your mouth, right? It's like, I ate this thing, it doesn't taste good. Now I don't even want to look at food, to use like an analogy. So, have we reached peak knife? Well, I would say probably not, because like you said, the knife industry has been in existence as long as there's been man, basically. So as far as like peak knife, will we ever get there? I sure hope not. I think the industry is at, like, when you look at it in a big picture, we're probably at a kind of an interesting like phase in its growth, where you have the internet, which is this huge sort of interrupter in the way we communicate and share information.
Yeah.
That has allowed sort of our hobby to be put in front of way more people than otherwise had, and just the sheer number of eyeballs that are being exposed to these types of products are driving demand right now to the point where there's not enough supply to meet it. hence the 100 million variants of the same knife. Because they're probably just speculating on previous dealer orders and filling POs for existing orders and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's not based on, it's based on some data, I would presume.
Yeah.
You know, and also the fact that there's opportunity now for like what I'm doing, where you have OEM makers who can cater to creative types who are willing to take entrepreneurial risk and do things that are different. You know, like that's relatively new. So I would say that's not something that happens at peak knife. I'd say that's something that happens at like an interesting fork in the road.
Yeah, and I also it resonates what you were saying before. Like things wax and wane, and we are definitely in a waxing period, and who knows? Maybe these things get decided by others. You know, like politicians. Don't wait. I'm sorry. Go back.
He's saying basically, isn't a kukri a peak knife? You could do everything with it. It's like, I don't disagree with you. Like as far as useful tools,
yeah.
Well, I think we probably passed that a long time ago. You know, like you get away with a hatchet, you know, a small utility knife, and maybe one folding knife. Like anything you could possibly need, you could have got a long time ago. We don't have to debate that because I think we'd all agree that's true.
Right.
But is there still innovation to be had? Is there still cool stuff? Like, you know, Jake will talk about it at the show. He got a out the front from Gavin Hawk.
Oh God.
Well, it's like the only out the front that doesn't have blade play in it.
Yeah.
You know, people have been making out the fronts for decades, and just now someone finally builds one that's like straight rock solid.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and that's innovation, and that and they're the only ones doing it. It hasn't become rote. So that means there's a lot more to be done. Michael says, besides lightsabers, there's only so much you can do with a blade and a handle. Besides upgrade the materials and then shark lock, etc. Then again, shark lock, etc. Yeah. It's true. That is true, and it's also true what you were saying about everything that we need. We could have gotten 1,000 years ago, really, or actually, if we want hardened steel, I guess we'd have to come a little bit earlier than that, but you get my point. Hey, Mr. Fileto, good to have you here. Hey, all. Only when all knife laws and restrictions are abolished will we truly be near reaching the peak. That is a good point. I think I agree with you on that. All knife laws should be abolished. Well, yes, they should. Joshua Haygood says, Demco's still inventing great new awesome locking systems. Steel constantly improving. John Sorensen perfecting the pivot bushing system. Custom knives better than ever. List goes on. We haven't peaked. Joshua, I like the way you think, sir. You are
I agree with Josh, too. I agree.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're not awash in knives. Like, there's still more knives being demanded than are being produced, and knives of this quality are not easy to make. Like they're sophisticated. They're made to better than aerospace tolerance in a lot of circumstances. So it's like, let's not forget also the manufacturing techniques are constantly being improved, and the precision is being improved upon, and tolerances they're holding today in these products couldn't probably be dreamed about in the 80s. So it's it's happening everywhere. The more people who are focused on it, putting their ingenuity into it, and trying to make something better than they made the year before, like maybe you get a diminishing return at some point.
Yeah. James brings up
climbing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally interrupted you. With
you're right. Go ahead. What did James say?
James's thought is interesting, kind of the opposite of Civivi. Some low volume production and custom makers can get all the business they can handle with one knife model at a time. Koenig Arias, Oz Roosevelt, Bull Chamois. Yes, right. And that's to be expected from a small outfit. That's you're right. That is the opposite, because they're a small outfit, and that's all the business they can manage is going into this knife of high demand, but those knives also take a lot more work. I shouldn't say a lot more work, but I think there are a lot fewer people making that knife, a lot fewer machines presumably making that knife. So it takes a lot longer, more resources, more work, more human hours than a Civivi. So Civivi should maybe branch out and take advantage of their advantage. and well, they do. They have a million models. I should not, like Christopher mentioned before, I shouldn't go on about it. But Bob, do you know the name of that Caswell with the retractable clip? I do not. It is really cool though. It is. Was that there? Did Joe Caswell have a table with knives?
I wish I would have seen his table. He actually approached me,
Okay.
which was pretty neat. And he was telling me a little bit about how the industry works and his experience with CRKT. And it's like, how else would I learn that stuff?
Yeah.
The Buck 110 is peak knife.
Uncle Randy. That's right.
Sounds like something Uncle Randy would say, huh?
That's funny. Sean M says Buck knives need to make a huge 110 folder. There's so much more to innovate. I've seen Bob's huge folders. I think you mean, sir. If you're talking about my cold steel, my ridiculously testosterone fueled cold steel extra large collection. Josh says, that being said, without naming names, I think certain knife companies may have peaked. Name names, Joshua. No one's watching from those companies. Name names. I'm curious who you think has peaked.
It's a tall order, for a business to stay innovative, relevant, cutting edge. It's like, man, and a lot of times, people rest on their laurels. That's like human nature. You get some success, you want to kick your feet back and enjoy it. Where two doors down, someone's hungry as can be and going to grab the attention that could have been yours had you stayed motivated. I think that's natural and happens in every industry.
I also think that smaller companies might run into succession problems. Like I don't know, and I'm using this company just as a pure example. I don't know what their situation is, in the future or anything like that. But say like Emerson Knives. What about when Ernest Emerson retires? And no one else feels like taking it, and he sells it to someone, and then that outfit takes it and does their turns it into their knife company. That you could run into that. These companies aren't going to last forever.
What about Great Eastern Cutlery?
What about Great Eastern Cutlery? What is happening with Great Eastern Cutlery?
So you got Bill Howard, owner operator, right? He's got a son. He's my age, pretty close. I think he's like 38 or 39. If Bill Jr. doesn't want to run the company, who's going to run the company?
Yeah,
nobody.
Perfect example.
Right. And so, the way I look at it is like, we can certainly be critical, like that's our right to be. But at the same time, it's like, I think we should be also thankful for like all the cool stuff we have to choose from and all the blood, sweat, tears, and risk that other people take to offer this stuff to us. You know what I mean? Like
spoken like a knife company owner.
Well, I just see it. I see like how upset people get about stuff. And I guess it depends on what it is. Like if someone wrongs you, you have a right to be upset. But like if this blade maybe has like a rub or a scratch on it that you feel like shouldn't be there, like have you ever seen what it takes to put one of these things together and how many people are sweating in a 90-degree room to do this for you and stuff like that,
Yeah. So
I don't know.
You're just talking about basic gratitude, and not just for the knives, but for everything that we have so easy. But I just lost my train of thought there. What was I going to say?
Something about I don't know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, these are not things that just pop out of nowhere. They do take a lot of work and a lot of effort, and they are luxury items. Oh, what I was going to say is hobbies, and this is what this is, to most people, to a lot of people. Hobbies are there to distract you from the weight of everyday existence, right? Just like watching sports or playing sports or, just any sort of escape. And things can get heated within that escape. We peaked at the Dolica. Things can get heated in those escapes. I mean, just watch someone watching a football game or someone playing golf who things aren't going well. Things, even though that's their escape, it's not going well. And or they are reacting to something within that system of internal logic, and it gets them heated. Same thing can happen here over ridiculous stuff like steel or whatever.
Yeah, it's a
what
fact.
Was that? Yeah, it is. Well, what did Therapeutic Edge just say there, Jim?
He said people expect perfection because mass production companies basically offer it, and he's right. Like, look at what you can get for. I saw someone mention it in the chat. Something about you can get M390 for under $100. It's like, look at what you can get for under $100 these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, replicate it yourself at home. Good luck, for under $100. Like, it's amazing the level of fit, finish, and quality and materials we're able to purchase these days.
Yeah.
And I think it does skew people's expectations to some degree.
Sure. Especially when knives make me smile, work makes me frown. When I can work and use knives, it makes it tolerable. I love it.
That's awesome.
The Dolica is a surfboard riding the peak of the knife wave, maintaining ultimacy. Yes, it is.
Very trippy.
Yeah, it is. But I agree. I got into serious knife collecting in 2017. That was a good year to be into knives. That's interesting. Seems Logical was also saying earlier, and I wanted to mention this. He mentioned CRKT and how they are, in terms of companies out there, they are the ones who take a lot of risks, and they are innovative. And I agree with him. And I've said this a lot, like my own personal snobbery about materials has stopped me from having a huge CRKT collection, because over the years, they've had some really unique and really cool knives. And there was a point in time where my collecting was, a lot of it, at least in terms of folders, had to do with how innovative it was, what the locking mechanism or some crazy blade or something like that. And CRKT did all of that stuff, but they did it all in 8CR13 MOV and stainless steel and, materials that weren't as appealing to me or compelling. But as a company that takes risks and tries new things, man, they are way up there. Professor Edie says, it's awesome to hear that, Ben. It's awesome to hear that, Ben. I'm putting together a special on clones versus originals. And what you just said seems to like an honest comment from the business side.
I'm not sure which comment you mean, but
well, I think
hopefully I was being honest.
I think he's talking about like gratitude and blood, sweat, and tears, and how there are a lot of people working very hard to bring that knife to the market. And, if you start seeing Jack Wolf knives being ripped off, and sold for pennies on the dollar, you'll be pissed, and that's a violation. Sean M says, if one of your first folders wasn't the comb knife, you haven't even groomed properly. I would agree with you, sir. I had one of those in the 70s, the switchblade knife. Couldn't go through my hair, which was so thick back in those days. Professor
I
EDC,
don't know how could you be in the knife business and not be a knife lover? And I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are, they took a job, and then he basically was saying, I'm a businessman and a knife lover. And I don't know, Professor, I don't know how that pertains to the comment I made, but it makes me question, like, I don't know how you could be involved in this business and not love knives. Like, you must want to shoot yourself if you are surrounded by all these knife people and all these knives, and to not like the product. I feel like you'd go absolutely bonkers after a while.
Greg Medford said he wasn't a knife guy. He told me he wasn't. I was like, so when'd you get a knife? He's like, I'm not really into knives. I'm like,
I've met him, Bob, and you know what he is, though? He says that, but he also likes to say stuff that's
he's a provocateur.
Provoking, right?
Yeah.
But the dude is definitely into, like, American ingenuity and being successful and making a high quality product to a high level of precision. And he likes to design knives. So maybe he doesn't carry knives or use knives a lot, but it's like, dude, you run a huge American knife company. Like, you could say you don't like knives, I'm not buying
it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Scott N says the knife makers have to budget how much for whatever the popular steel is. Being able to get in it quality and be able to machine and deliver, not easy. Yeah.
There's nothing easy about it. There's nothing easy about it. Sophisticated machinery, manual labor, like people, the most difficult resource to work with.
Highly skilled. They have
highly skilled labor. It takes years to learn to grind. The way we look at something and be like, oh, it's just a little off. It's like, dude's been grinding for 2 years. Who did that? You know, like, not easy, you know? So
that is such a troll answer. It is. I'm not into knives.
Right. I'm not into knives. You could tell when at the shows, man, someone will be like walking around with their spouse. And like, this guy is like eyes wide open, like kid in a candy store, and his spouse is just like on the phone, like, get me out of here, you know? Yeah. and that's the person who's not into knives. They just can't wait to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'd be like going to a hairdryer convention or a show for pipe fittings. If you're not into that stuff, it's like, oh my God, more pipe fittings?
Right. Look at these pipe fitters. Like, get me out of here. These guys are weird.
Yeah. And then there's always the feeling of, there's a stigma. Like, it's like every knife is a weapon. Right. Okay. So Ben, I remember I showed you this when I got it. This is the Ron Steel Knives Prime. I had to make it in double edge, and it's got this beautiful canvas micarta handle, and I think it's 80 CRV2. I can't remember what steel it is, actually. Beautiful knife. Jim and I tried to have him on the show the other night. We had some technical difficulties, and so I'm working on rescheduling that. But in the meantime, I got a box from Tier 1, who, man, he is awesome. Justin sends me periodically. He'll send me a box of, say, 5 to 7 knives with new knife makers work in it, or that he has collected, and he's exposing me to a lot of really great up and comers, basically. And this guy, Ron Steele, is one of them. And so he sent me a box with some knives I'm going to feature on the midweek supplemental, but I wanted to show these 2 Ron Steele knives off that came in. They're just so cool. First of all, he makes great sheaths. And so if you look at these 2, you can see that they have that sort of sub-hilt thing happening here. And the way the sheath is you can grab the sub-hilt and just pull it out without having to negotiate the sheath. And I love that. You just kind of tug on the sub-hilt, and there it is. But
are those here's deep pocket sheaths, or are there pocket clips on them or belt clips on them? Okay, deep pocket.
I think you could go. You could just drop this in your pocket for sure. But it's also set up for. I think the discrete carry concepts clips fit on that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
So different clips will fit. Really nice sheath, but look at this. It's such a nice little utility thing and utility knife. And he makes beautiful handles and these little beads. As a matter of fact, I think he's having a bead sale. I think I saw that on his Instagram feed today. But I love his knives, and these little ones are really cool. I like them a lot. Of course, I want to get the Prime in Bowie before I go for these little ones. But here's the drop point of this same knife. And just man, this guy has a really promising future, I think, because he hasn't been doing this for very long, but his skills are really good. And I think, he's a graphic designer. So I think, as is, we talked to Dylan Grace from Dylan Grace Blade Company, and he's a graphic designer too, and they have just like similar quick I don't want to say mastery, because I can't but they became good knife makers really, really quickly and have these gorgeous designs. What was that last comment that was up, Jim?
It was Hollywood saying he just checked in.
Oh, Hollywood Tactical. How you doing, man?
What up, Hollywood?
Good to have you here. We were chit-chatting, talking about Peak Knife, and decided that I was just in a dire mood when I wrote that. But now we're looking at these Ron Steele. Man, I like this one especially. I do like Warncliffe's a lot, and I like this one. But I always will opt for a point. Instead of a. But anyway, I think these knives are
fat
cool.
Carbon? Is that fat carbon?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this material is.
I like it. Whatever it is. It's cool.
It is cool.
I like, I gravitate to smaller knives, generally speaking. For me, I find them a little more useful and less cumbersome for my daily activity. So to me, they're awesome. And I've never had a knife where you had that sort of, you called it something. I forget what you called it. That kind of sharp fin hanging down.
Sub hilt.
Hilt.
Yeah, kind of like on this,
Right. It's a lot more pronounced on those smaller ones, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I guess not. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's like part of how you carry it. Versus on yet other knife, it's there to protect your hand, like more like a guard. But on that thing, it's kind of more like a finger choil.
Oh yeah. You're definitely not sliding up onto the blade with this. Actually, I mean, you could slide this finger up, but it's really, it feels like it gives you a lot of. Here, I'm going to hold it up in front of me. It feels like it gives you a lot of control. I have not used these knives, but maybe even more, especially with the Warncliffe. Say you're doing a lot of pull cutting, just to have that. It's like, it feels like a little trigger under your finger,
Right. I like when people, what's the word I'm trying to say? It's not something you see all the time. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's not, right? Like sometimes it won't work for everybody because everybody might not. If you want it to be comfortable, just make it a cylinder, right? Like anybody can pick up a stick.
Yes.
But if you're willing to venture outside of that and try something different or unique, it can really pay off for you. And so I like to see people take those kinds of risks in their design. Maybe risk isn't the right word, but what I'm trying to say.
It is a design risk. Actually, this was one of the things I looked at on Instagram, and I was like, I love the way that looks, but I bet it's not comfortable. But actually, because it looks like a sharp thing on the handle.
Right.
But actually it's awesome. It works great. That middle one looks like a ProTech Runt. Oh yeah, it kind of does. What was the one? What did you have up before that, Jim? You're like, damn it, man. Just read them when they're up.
And I like how he has almost like a chef's knife where the edge is down lower than the handle to give you some knuckle clearance.
Yeah.
It creates a overall bigger envelope, for carrying it or whatever. But as far as having something be maybe a little more usable, there's something to say for that. And it's a different experience in use when you have that cutting edge down below the handle. And it's something I've come to appreciate.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, what you're talking about, the knuckle clearance, exactly. And that can also be achieved with an angle, kind of like the Spidey Chef has that angle of the blade, and that kind of has a similar effect. But yeah, I see what you mean. It does broaden the blade, but you broaden the blade, it's going to be slicier.
Right.
It just will. So I think, the next supplemental I do will either be, I think it will have to be these. It'll either be these fixed blade knives that Tier 1 sent me, but I'm burning for some reason. I haven't been in a traditional phase at all, but I'm kind of burning to do a video on trappers, traditional trappers that I have. And I think maybe it's because GEC released that Remington, or GEC made that Remington classic bullet trapper like this.
Just smaller than that one.
Yeah. How big is that? Do you know?
I didn't buy it. I've been trying to be a good boy and not, be buying everything I see.
Yeah.
But I think it's like the mini bullet. So it's a scaled down version of that one, basically. They also had that lockback that they did earlier this year, the number 83.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is, which is got that handle shape with the kind of hump in the middle in between your ring and ring and middle finger, I guess it is.
Right. That always is. Hang on one second. Zhao Klein. Where's a place I can trustworthy place I can get a Sykes Fairbairn? Email me. Go to the website and email me, and I'll find out. My brother knows that kind of thing. I'll find out from him. Actually, he got me this Sykes Fairbairn right here, and that's some iteration from way back when. One of the viewers once told me what it was, and I wrote it down and hid it away in the box, basically. So I can't remember what exactly that is, but it's one of the original. So email me. I will find out from my brother, and I'll get back to you. Sean M says, ever heard of BPS knives? I ordered a fixed blade from Amazon. This thing was decent. It literally arrived hair shaving sharp. It's impressive. BPS knives. I don't think I have BPS.
Me neither.
I'm thinking BRS, just because you look at it, it looks like BRS, except it's missing the little thing on the P to make it an R. We feel we're going to need all three of those fixed blades. Need, yes, that's the word. I agree. I mean, no, I don't agree. What I mean is I know what you mean, and I think you need them too. Actually, let me show you another one you need. Here's a sneak preview of another one that he sent. This one is so cool. This is a collaboration with Jacob Creates, Cerberus Knives, and then a third party who did the handle wrap. It escapes me right now. I'll remember in a moment. But this is a three-way collaboration. Jacob Creates is a young knife maker from I think San Diego or Los Angeles that I've been following for a while, that I learned about again through Tier 1, and his stuff is sick. He's incredibly talented. Look at this little thing. It's got that red ray skin with the what's that wrap called? Tekamaki. No, that's sushi. I used to know what that was called. This kind of wrapping I love. I love the way it feels in hand with the ridges, their sort of alternating ridges. I love that wrap, and I love the way it looks. But this blade, so Jacob Creates does V ground blades, but he makes these gorgeous chisel grounds, and I really like chisel ground blades. And look at this thing.
I like that a lot. It's funny because I was working on, before I had that shoulder surgery, I was working on a knife in my buddy's shop, and it looks a lot like that one, like a lot.
Oh yeah,
mine wasn't a chisel grind, and it didn't have that Tonto tip, but they'd be cousins,
like a little mini Bowie.
Yeah, and to me, like, aesthetically pleasing for sure. The red and the black and the handle, if we could just talk about the aesthetics, looks awesome. I like the real organic handle shape. I like the low, the below the knuckle blade. It's backwards for me as a chisel grind. I think that'd be like a chisel grind for a right-handed person, right?
Right. Yep.
But nonetheless, I think a chisel grind is super cool, and they get so sharp.
Yep. And it's very no, Suba is the guard on a katana. But thank you. This
Does it
right
have
here.
A swedge?
Listen to this. Yeah, it does have a swedge. Let's see, swedge right there. Very nice.
Yeah, I like it.
And then I've seen a large version of this with a custom. These are all custom with a sharpened swedge, which I was like, okay, I'll be ordering that from you someday. But listen to this. Can you know that sound of a super sharp, very thin blade, just like Jake's knife?
Yeah.
So this thing is decently thin in terms of blade stock, chisel ground, and deeply hollow ground on the ground side, and hence the need for the Tanto tip, I believe. Right. But just friggin' awesome knife. And yeah, that organic handle shape, as you mentioned, just nestles into the hand perfectly. You get the You get the support of your palm here, but it doesn't feel like, oh, this is too small a knife, you know. I just really, really like this.
What
And
kind of coating is it? It almost looks painted. It almost looks like spray paint.
I think it's ceramic.
Interesting.
And that's what Cerberus Knives does. So Jake B made the blade, and Cerberus Knives did the coating. And then, damn it, since I'm talking, I have it right here. This is someone I just started following recently. All right, well, you're not watching to look at me, look at the phone, but damn. Tier 1. Here we go. Bright for War, I believe. Yeah, Bright for War is what he goes by on Instagram. Bright for War. He does these beautiful sort of Japanesey blades with gorgeous wrapped handles with different colors and stuff. So yeah, Jake B creates blade, Cerberus Knives coating, and Bright for War did the handle wrap. So just a cool collaboration altogether. Snuz, who made that, Bob? I just decided I need one of those chisel ground beauties. So go to Jacob, Jakeb Creates on Instagram. He's the blade maker. And I know, I follow him. And when he does black coated blades, he did a little spade of them recently. He had Cerberus do them. So I think he does a lot of collaborations. And actually, I believe he is collaborating on a knife with this guy, Ron Steele. So lots of cool stuff happening with the fledgling knife makers. I don't know how to say, like, I guess up and comers, you know?
Yeah, that one would have got my money. Of all the ones that you just put on the table, if I had to pick one to buy, it would be that one. I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Super cool. All righty, sir. We're getting to the end, and I love doing knife fights with you, but I have a question.
Sure.
Do you know the Kershaw Skyline?
Nope.
Blast. Okay, because then maybe I'll save this knife fight for another time. Civivi Elementum, which has been, receiving my ire tonight, versus the Kershaw Skyline. They have the same blade. I'm convinced it's like a very similar blade anyway. And maybe we'll save that knife fight for another time.
Yeah, because honestly, if you would have showed me that Civivi Elementum, I couldn't have told you what it was. Like
Yeah.
I don't follow the Civivi stuff. It doesn't exactly appeal to me.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it, but I'm not the guy for the knife fight between two knives I never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a risk doing a knife fight between knives themselves. So we'll come up with something in a sec. Mike Flamian, good to have you here. Boy, I sure hope we haven't reached peak knife. I think I came to the conclusion I was just in a dire mood when I wrote that. I personally think that we are living during a golden knife age. I think you're right. And so far we are seeing better and better. You're right about that. And you know what? It is a really good sign that things are still going well and going maybe even increasingly well. It's Tsukamaki. Thank you, sir. Is the preponderance of collaborations. We were just talking about this collaboration knife between custom makers, but there are collaborations between huge manufacturers. Hey, Ryan, great to have you here, sir. Always a pleasure carrying that Sibbert pocket rocket. Holy mackerel. I love Shane Sibbert's work, I should say. And that knife that you got there, that white pocket rocket, is by far my favorite of his knives. Hands down. Though, well, maybe not hands down. I think everything I see by him is appealing in one way or another. But I love that knife, and that blade is spectacular. But what I was trying to say was all of the collaborations, whether they're between custom makers, limited run custom makers, or your giant companies, your Wee Knives, or Riyadh or whatever. That's a good sign. All the collaborations, people cooperating, people being able to creatively cooperate. Genunting versus kukri. I think we may have done this. but that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know what a Gununting is either.
Oh, it's so good. I'm writing this one down. Thank you. Seems logical. That seems like a logical knife fight.
Hollywood, where are you seeing the saturation? I'm curious. Just curious where you're seeing that. Like, there's certainly a lot to choose from, and not everything sells out immediately. That's for sure. But it just seems like for a lot of stuff, the demand is just outpacing the supply. So I'm curious if you could elaborate on that, because of course I don't see every corner of the knife market.
Have a good night at work, Snuzz. Thanks for joining us. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just was hoping he could elaborate, because I like to get other people's perceptions on stuff where I'm not seeing it the same, and I certainly don't know everything.
It also has to do with your level of knife media consumption. You know, I happen to do a lot of video editing during my day, and oftentimes I'll have a moment where something's uploading or downloading or rendering or whatever, and I'm like, pick up my phone and doing something on my phone. Oftentimes it's knives on Instagram, and that's how you get to the point where you're incensed by the Civivi Elementum. Maybe too much, you know what I mean? Too much. Maybe tactical. Maybe it's not a matter of oversaturation in the market. Maybe it's a matter of oversaturation of knife media. But I shouldn't say that, should I? Because I like knife media. Gununting equals Filipino Army standard issue knife. I have one over there. I'll show it to you when we're done rolling.
Cool.
But it's practically a machete. Yeah, it's a downward curved. No, the Gununting's over there. Here.
Sounds like a Yiddish word.
So this one is made by Traditional Filipino Weapons. Let me put this beautiful blade back in its sheath. All right, this one is made by Traditional Filipino Weapons. One of my favorite parts. I mean, okay, I love everything about Gununtings, and one thing I really love is the handle. They're generally shaped like this. This one is it's Camagong. Or no, wait, no. This isn't Camagong. Dave, this Old Sword Blade Reviews corrected me on what type of wood this is. It's a really hard Filipino wood.
I said Gununting sounds like a Yiddish word when you got up, like kvetching, or
or what was it? We were just talking some Yiddish terms before. Oh, schmuck. Schmuck means jewelry, but it also means, penis. Hang on. Okay, so here we go. So right here, a lot of Gununtings have this too, with the finger grooves. But here, check this out. It's such a cool knife. Here, you know what? Actually, let me hold it up in front of me. You'll be able to see it better.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It's got that downward. So the Special Marines in the Philippines, and especially in the South, carry and use these to great effect. And they're, it's a 29-inch blade, I believe. No. 29 inches overall. It's like a 21-inch blade. It's got a sharpened swedge on the back, so you can, do these flicking things. And yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, this will be a part of the knife fight. Ryan says, I don't think we've hit a saturation point at all. Just praying we see more of a trend to steer our premium production back to the United States. Yep. MBK about to do theirs. That's right. The Sea Otter, McNeese, Hinderer, CRK, and Millet. They're not only are they still doing OEM stuff, but they are coming out with more knives under their shingle. A couple of them designed by TJ Schwartz, but others designed by others. So, and I think like an in-house design too. So, man, hopefully that trend picks up. There's also a smaller manufacturer called Dauntless. I talked to them quite a while ago. Dauntless Manufacturing, and they're doing stuff like it can happen. I hope. Okay, now I'll have to carry my Skyline for the day coming. Greetings from Greece to all. Great stuff, Bob. Thank you, Kyan. Well, thanks for joining us first of all. But how cool is it that you're joining us from Greece? That's awesome. I've been to Greece and I love it. And Thanks for joining us. Traditional Filipino weapons is a good place to go for a ganunting, good craftsmanship and low price. The ganunting is about the price of a mid-range Spyderco. Yeah, that's their swords are now, they were at $200 for years and years. Now they're like $279, $300. And then they have a couple that are not traditional Filipino weapons, like large bastard swords and stuff like that, and they're more expensive. Yes, this is what I was going to say. If you want a high-end ganunting, and they also do talibongs too, top Prado blades. Those are gorgeous. Yes, indeed. And you can get them. I think they have them in 2 different sizes, 2 different blade lengths, and those are the ones that actually get used. I think that guy Prado was a former or current Filipino Marine and actually uses those things. Tyler, good to have you here. Though your dog man icon has me scared crapless here. I just said crapless. I'm not around my daughters. I don't have to. Synapses XL drop tomorrow. Synapse XL drop tomorrow. Oh, damn. Damn. I believe if you wanted a bigger one, Bob. Yes, I did. I do. But I just spent money with someone who might still be watching. I think that was what you were holding when Ben showed his lefty arrow axon. It is. If it wasn't the Synapse, my bad. No, you're exactly right, sir. It is the Synapse, and it's a nearly perfect knife, and that's not the kind of thing I'm apt to say about a flipper. You know, to me, this is more of a perfect knife, at least right now, or the Hinderer XM18. But man, I'll be damned if Joseph Vero didn't design like just an amazing. Usually, I hate 2-finger choils. Boom, that's a great 2-finger choil. Works. I don't know how. Gununtong. What did that say? Gununtong there equals similar specs. Okay. To my World War I bayonet. Gununting. Yeah, I got you. Cool. World War I. She's, that probably got used. Ryan says HMC is doing the new Ephros machine custom and Oz machine tool, tooling up to do OEM eventually too. That's cool. That's awesome. Hey, Ryan, actually, I was thinking of you earlier today because I saw that Ed Cope stopped making knives, at least for the time being. What is that about? His knives are so freaking cool. He sold all of his, I guess he's moving back to the mainland, and he sold all of his stuff, and he's not going to be making knives for a while or at all. I don't know. But kind of shocking. Prado is an enlisted master sergeant in the Filipino Army. So you're right there. Well, I was close anyway. That's cool, man. So it's not just a collectible for that gentleman. Sean M says nothing completes a collection like a good Viking axe. CRKT, Frere and Frere. How do you pronounce that? That's Frere. And Berserker are amazing. Hate to steer way off topic. You're not way off topic. We can always talk about tomahawks. And actually, this tomahawk over my shoulder was made by the guy who designed the Frere, Ed Roosh, or Elmer Roosh. Joshua Haygood says Oz Roosevelt would be a perfect knife if the steel was Vanix Magnacut 204P or something other than Zephonite. I have no experience with Zephonite and or Zephonite. How do you pronounce that? Zephonite. What are the characteristics of that steel that you don't like? I'm curious about that. The problem with Hinderer knives is that I could save up for one for the rest of my life, have enough to pay for the going price, and still not show up in time to get it.
Meaning he can't catch the drops.
Oh. Okay. All right. You are talking my language. I should have understood that on the first read. Yeah, me too. Not just with Hinderer, but with anything, like this is the first I'm hearing of the XL of this. I'm not sure if I would have gotten it, but I would have liked to have known, but I don't know what the hell is. Zephonite is LC200N. Oh, okay. It's a good steel. Zephonite is basically the same as LC200N, says Ryan. All right. So for me, my luck with that steel hasn't been great with me sharpening it, but since Emler put an edge on my Spidey chef, it's been great. Then again, I don't use it that much. A good Viking axe is never off topic. Agreed, sir. Agreed. Yeah, a Viking axe, or a tomahawk. Does it have a blade? I actually have lately been really kind of jonesing for, I mentioned it before, an RMJ tactical. Did you see him at the gathering? Were they there?
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's right.
What do they make that you're after?
Chained to your table. Tomahawks. They did a huge, Ryan Johnson played a huge role in bringing tomahawks back. Basically, it was, I think, 2006. A guy who was commanding a small group of people in Iraq asked him to make one, and he made 6 or whatever. I can't remember how many he made for this small outfit, this small, like special forces group. And then everyone wanted one, and then his business blew up. And he was only, I remember this when he first kind of was out, in the zeitgeist, that he was only selling to military at the time, just because he didn't have the bandwidth to make tons of stuff for everybody. And he was getting just lambasted. He was bombarded with requests from serving military members. So, but just gorgeous. Like many of them are spiked tomahawks, and then he has a really cool war hammer that's actually plates screwed together instead of like a solid hammer pull. It's really cool. I mean, he makes beautiful stuff, and knives and bludgeons and other things. But he had a huge booth at Blade Show, and I got a chance to talk with him for a while. DJ says, I bought 7 Hinderers this year. Damn, man. Got my XM18 no flipper Fullard spear today. That's awesome, man. I was actually I was thinking of doing a flipper delete on this one, but I just don't have the heart to. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. But I half the time I think this would be sweet without a flipper. I can't see. But
how do you open it usually?
Usually actually with the flipper. It's not the tri-way pivot. It's just the old one. So actually I frequently will pinch both thumb studs and flick it out that way. Are we talking about RMJ now? Best hatchet and tomahawk designer today. Agreed. It would be cool to see him do something. And he, by the way, RMJ Tactical also owns American Tomahawk Company, which has been around in one iteration or other since Vietnam. And then, he also owns, or RMJ also owns Chattanooga Leatherworks, which makes the bomb sheets. They make the best sheets. I love them. Joshua says the non-flipper Fullard Spear XM18 is my personal favorite XM18. If you like Hinderer, you owe it to yourself to try one of those. I agree. Honey, I like Hinderer and I owe it to myself. Yes, dear. Get the non-flipper. That's not what happens ever at all. The non-flippers have lighter tuned detents for stud use. Yeah, this old one, I mean, this Gen 4 has a pretty light detent. Like if you don't give it, save up some energy and give it juice to flip it open, you're likely to have that happen. This is not, it was a flipper, but also a finger guard, like a way to get the blade out, but not a flipper, if you know what I mean. Not a flipper for the action's sake. JN says, if I get a Hinderer, it's going to be a slip joint because price and because frame locks. Well, they're not for everybody. Peter Carey Peter Carey isn't a big fan, even though I just saw his frame lock and it's awesome. All right, man, I'm afraid I'm hitting a wall here, but I feel like we got to debate about something, man. I feel like we gotta debate something. Can you come up with a little topic?
Brain. I knew you were gonna ask me.
Oh, no. Geez. Thank you, Jim. Okay. All right. I forgot to mention. What's that?
I was gonna say, what did Jim come up with something?
No. Jim's reminding me. I had this way up on my list of things to talk about, and I blew right over it. We have a new tactical junkie. And that's a Patreon member, and it's Bryce Blade Freak. He was on earlier, and for some reason that didn't cue me off to mention him, but I just wanted to mention thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Blade Freak. I really appreciate it. Blade Freak has a really cool collection. It's a small collection because he's a man of discipline, and at some point he decided he's only going to keep 10 to 12 knives in his collection, and when he needs something new, he's going to get rid of something, and I really admire that, and I aspire to that at some point. Some point I'll do that. But anyway, thank you, Blade Freak. It's greatly appreciated, and we will put your support to good use. All you got to do is go to the Patreon. Is go to TheKnifeJunkie.com/Patreon. If you're interested, go check it out. We have 3 levels of support, $3, $5, and $10 levels. You're either a traditional, tactical, or gentleman junkie. And if you're a gentleman junkie, you get everything everyone else gets. Plus, you get entered into a knife giveaway. And one of the other things we've been doing recently is recording, 10 to 20 minutes of extra interview. So there's some exclusive content up there. For instance, Michael Janich, after we finished rolling on the main podcast, I asked him what he thought of Libra fighting and Pikal style fighting and Pikal style knives and knives with rings, and got some funny answers, some interesting answers. So definitely check that out. Greatly appreciated. Okay. How about, we could go totally meta and say fixed blade versus folder.
All right.
What would you like to take?
You pick, man.
I'll take the folder.
All right.
All right. Mo, my pleasure. Thank you, sir. Drop point versus clip point.
We should do fixed blade versus folder. It's like one of the age-old debates,
Okay. All right. Wait, I think knife fights are useful. Often I narrow down my search to 2 or 3 knives, but can only afford one. So useful to see how to compare. Okay. Well, we're not doing the Elementum versus the Skyline. We are doing the fixed blade versus the folding knife. Okay. You go first with the fixed blade. You've had, 150,000 years to come up with your argument. How long have we been using knives? Anyway.
So you're going to give me the signal?
Yeah. Okay. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. You get a minute.
Well, when it comes to having a knife, that's a tool that you, above all things, need to rely upon to work and work correctly. And not only that, but work in an extenuating circumstance. So why have a knife that has mechanical parts that by their nature are prone to failure relative to the strength of a solid piece of steel? So when it comes to choosing the survival tool or utility tool that may just need to depend your life on, pick the thing that doesn't have a pivot, doesn't have screws, won't break and leave you stranded. Pick the fixed blade.
Ooh, that was good. That was kind of salesy too. I like that. I like how you did that. Okay. Oh, well, okay. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. If you want a knife to rely on, if you need a tool to rely on, if you need a tool to take you through extenuating circumstances, and if you have to ask why take a folder, you're not living in the real world. Who among us walks around with a fixed blade knife on their hip? Really? I mean, besides me, I'm just kidding. No, who walks around with a fixed blade? Really, the knife that is most useful, it's an old trope, but is the knife that you have on you. And let's just be real for a minute. Most of us always have a folder on us. Not everyone has a fixed blade all the time. I agree. In the worst circumstances, you want a fixed blade, but I mean, it's so rare that I'm in the worst circumstances, knock on wood. And so I feel like I would rather settle and go with a day-to-day knife that I know is going to be on me at all times, and not one that I wish I had, but didn't bring because it was just too big and fixed. See?
Very good, Bob. It is more useful, we all know, and practical to carry something that can fold in half.
Yeah. And actually,
hard to argue against that.
well, yeah, but it's also hard to argue against the supremacy of a fixed blade knife, really, I mean, folders are definitely the new kid on the block, right?
They are. And, some of the lock designs they have these days, I mean, the damn thing almost is a fixed blade.
Yep.
So they've
Just
really
ask
blurred
Lynn.
the gap.
Yep. You cannot legally carry a 3.5-inch fixed blade and be
then.
cool unless it's a neck knife. Yeah, that's true. Less that, yeah. Here is the super thing. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that,
thank you.
Mason. Very, very appreciated. Thank you, man. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Fixed blade, folder. What are your druthers? Lynn Thompson walks around with multiple fixed blades. Those pig carcasses won't chop themselves. That's funny. That's funny. That reminds me. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bob doesn't believe himself, he says. Oftentimes I don't. What were you going to say?
Well, Shredder I'm looking at the comments, and he said, if I had to pick only one, it would be a fixed blade. And like, that would have been an interesting angle to throw into our debate. Like,
yes.
If you could only pick one, you argue fixed, you argue folder,
Yeah.
Because then it really makes you think. Like, obviously, if you have a knife collection, it's like, well, I'm going to take my folding knife with me every day. And when I go out in the woods, I'm going to take my fixed blade, right?
Right.
But if you can only have one, and maybe get to forego some of society's laws about inches of blade and stuff,
Yeah.
If you can only have one and no one's going to mess with you about it, which one do you take?
This is a good thought. Joshua says opening a folder is an intimidation technique, like a shotgun racking. Someone just asked, and now I can't remember who, if I had interviewed Lynn Thompson, and nope. I flew real close to the sun with him, and we couldn't. This was in April 2 years ago, and we couldn't. He had a lot of stipulations, and so it didn't happen. I kind of felt like he didn't really want to, but kind of felt like he should, and it never happened. But I'm not saying never, because I'd love to get that guy on. I would love to talk to Lynn Thompson. Fixed all day long, says Professor EDC. Yeah, there is something.
If you could only pick one, Bob, what would you pick?
Just one?
Like, if you had to, let's say it's like, hey, Bob, we're hitting the road. We got to go do this thing. Grab a knife. No one's going to mess with you about the length of it. We may be outside some. We may be in the city some. Grab a knife. What are you going to grab?
Do you mean particular model and make or style?
No, fixed or fold.
Oh, fixed by far. I mean, whenever I travel, I always have several fixed. But I had one that I used to travel with my SOG Super Bowie all the time. Like, I felt like that was a great, car breaks down in the Jersey Pine Barrens and I have to, make it out knife, a lot of, fixed blade all the way. Definitely. Folders are better for legalities.
How big?
7 inches or less.
Of the blade, 7-inch blade?
Blade, yeah. 7 inches or less. 7 inches is about a K-bar or a Randall or any sort of combat classic style knife. Though I might go for a Bowie, and in which case it would probably be a little bit larger.
Right. I always think about when you got a knife that's even longer than 6 inches, like, if you're gonna be sitting down a lot, they get in the damn way. You know what I mean? Like, you ever try to sit down with a big long knife? It
that's why
becomes a challenge.
You get a dangler if you
tied
can handle
to your leg.
Well, no,
just one that'll pivot, sort of.
Yeah, those. It's like it looks like a loop of leather that goes, and then there's a D-ring, and then it hangs. And when you sit down, can just it can flop around freely. I don't like the way they feel on, but you could do that if you're getting in and out of a tractor a lot or something. Right. I'd go for the fidget factor. Let's be honest, Demco 80/20 for toughness. Best of both worlds. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. The 80/20 is just awesome. It's so tough and innovative and fidgety, and it's got everything. Well, if the public won't pick you up broken down, the police probably will. Yeah. Well, technically I could walk around, not with this is double-edged. Technically I could walk around with this Gununting. Well, maybe not the Gununting. But our knife laws around here are weird, and you can walk around with a big fixed blade knife as long as it's out in the open for everyone to see, which is also weird to me. But you can't hide one of these on your person. The mountain men of old never sat down in chairs.
No, I guess they didn't.
That was an indulgence.
I just try to figure, like, what's the practical blade length if you're going to grab a fixed blade to have on you to where it just doesn't get in your damn way. Like a 12-inch knife, 12-inch blade's going to get in your way.
Okay, all right.
Around,
You want a fixed blade knife that's not going to get in your way. I would say 5 inches or less, 5.5 or less. The Street Bowie has that, and it works great. Over the years, it seems favorite fixed blade size is around 6 and a 4 to 5 inch handle. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, 6-inch 4 handle, I would say, or 4.5. Anyway, all right, it's getting late, guys. It's midnight here on the East Coast. Looks like Ben may have just dropped out. So Ben, if you can hear me or see me, thanks for joining me, man. It was awesome.
May have just dropped out.
You hear?
Hold on, my browser crashed. Hold on. There we go. We're back.
Well, I am about to sign off. Coming up this Sunday, episode 254 of the Knife Junkie podcast is Bearded Gear. Jake comes on. We talk a little bit background, just to catch people up if they didn't hear the first interview. But really, what we do is dig into the whole process and I'll say it, journey of making this knife. This is the Luft Concepts Avant. Only the first knife in what will surely be, a storied knife company at some point. Really impressed with this prototype he sent. It's got it is another one of those knives that was so clearly designed by a knife guy, like the Vero Engineering knife we were just looking at before. Like, this has so many knife guy things in it, and it's awesome. And they designed it for themselves, and it turns out a lot of people like it. So it's a great conversation with Jake. He's such a personable guy and straightforward, and it was really cool to talk about that process. So be sure to check us out on Sunday, and then Wednesday, the supplemental, where we will either be talking about trappers or we will be talking about fixed blade knives from Tier 1. Either way, it is sure to be a dynamic show. So join us then. Thanks everybody for watching. Walt, Ian, everybody. Thank you. It's Mick, great to see you. It's been a pleasure as always. JN, have a good night, man. And K Mason, thank you for the super chats. Greatly appreciated, man.
Yes, sir.
And to all the rest of you out there, speaking for Jim, who does all of this, that makes all of this look good. I'm Bob DeMarco saying, don't take dull for an answer.
Take care, everyone.